It's 1:30. The May 17th meeting of the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting is called to order. Jim Witcher. Here. Dan Martin.
Here.
Walter Kula.
Here, sir.
Harvey Harris.
Here.
Ward 6 is vacant. Jolene Pittman. John May. Here. Milford J. Clayton. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes from the April 19th meeting.
I recommend that we approve them as it's typed.
I second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner May, to approve the minutes of the April 19th meeting. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Item number 3 is the licensed taxi and wrecker services. We will have a report at the July meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to add one other thing. There have been 3 meetings of the Commission subcommittee working on completing the matters left over by the City Council's Special Taxi Task Force. The meetings were held February 23rd, March 15th, and April 19th. There will be, as the Chair has mentioned, there will be another subcommittee meeting after today's Commission meeting with members of the vehicle for hire industry to review the subcommittee's work to date and to finalize development of the ordinance amending Chapter 56.
That meeting will take place in the basement of 420 West Main, approximately 15 minutes at the end of this meeting. Item number 4 is the consent docket. There are no items on the consent docket at this time. We'll move directly to the items for individual consideration. 5A. Yes, 5A, the applicant is Elizabeth Wilmot, 3217 North Villa Avenue, Oklahoma City, 73122. The request is to consider the addition of north and southbound stop signs on North Villa Avenue at the following intersections to establish all-way stop control. One is at North Villa Avenue and Northwest 31st Street. Number 2 is North Villa Avenue at Northwest 35th Street.
Okay, the applicant contacted us this morning, has requested that their case be continued to the August meeting. Staff is recommending in the meantime that the Commission request the Oklahoma City Police Department to increase enforcement of the posted speed limit as resources allow. Based on our speed study, the observed 85th percentile speed on Villa was 34 miles an hour, which indicates that motorists in this area are generally disregarding the posted speed limit.
After looking at the packet earlier, I've already assigned this to the solo motorcycle officers to give this some attention.
Item 5A has asked for deferred till August meeting. Do I have a motion?
Sir, I'd like to move that we remove 5A and place it on the August agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner May, to defer 5A until the August meeting. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Item 5B is the applicant is Beverly Hancock, 18008 Carlton Way, Edmond, Oklahoma, 73012. The request is to consider recommending up to 2 parking spaces for use by persons with disabilities on the north side of Northwest 23rd Street between North Walker Avenue and North Hudson Avenue for the consideration of the City Council. Ms. Hancock? If there's anyone else wishing to speak, if you'll see Cherry and fill out one of these blue forms, please. Ms. Hancock, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Beverly Hancock. I live at 18088 Carlton Way in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Did you wish to present your
Yes, I wanted to state that there are no designated handicap parking spaces for any vehicles in around the 300 to 500 blocks of Northwest 23rd. My father owns several businesses on the 400 block of Northwest 23rd. He lost a leg a couple of years ago. He has great difficulty in finding parking places because there's a business next door that seems to take all the parking places that he normally would be able to use. And for him to walk even just a short distance is very hard on him. If he was in a wheelchair, he would have to maneuver the wheelchair out of the van and go all the way down the road to get into the alleyway to get into his place of business. There are no parking lots in the area at all for any kind of parking whatsoever. The only parking that's available is the parallel parking, and you could either park and go, you'd have to walk a block to Northwest 22nd Street or go across the street on 23rd and park on 24th Street, which he is physically unable to do. And I'm asking for some handicap parking spaces, and I would request that there wouldn't be any time limits placed on the parking spaces, because for him to have to go out and move his car, it takes him approximately 10 to 15 minutes to get inside the building, and then it would take another 10 to 15 minutes to even get to his car and move it again. And I have brought some photographs if anyone is not aware of the parking situation, if anyone wants to see them, along Northwest 23rd. Okay.
Yes.
Also, one of the problems is speeding along Northwest 23rd, and they put in a boulevard with some trees a few years ago, and then it used to be vertical parking, and they put in the boulevard and increased the lanes to 4 lanes. And it makes it very difficult to get out of these parallel spaces because you only have about 2 to 3 feet before the cars are in the lane of traffic from the first lane, and it's real hard for him to get in and out. I do have some additional pictures that show how close the cars are getting out of the car. And I also have some photographs of the previous parking before the street was changed with a boulevard that shows the vertical parking, and there were probably 2 to 3 times more parking spaces when this was available. Right now, in your recommendation, it said that it had a 1-hour limit on the parking places. There are no such signs up for anyone for limits on the parking spaces now, and I don't think it would be right to limit the handicap parking to 1 hour.
Thank you, Ms. Hancock.
Thank you.
Have staff summary, please.
Okay, in this case, staff's identified 2 parking spaces for the Commission's consideration in making a recommendation to the City Council. If the Commission recommends designating 1 reserved parking space, staff is recommending that space be the eastern parallel parking space located in front of 415 Northwest 23rd Street, which is about 196 to 218 feet west of the west curb line on Hudson Avenue. If the Commission recommends designating 2 parking spaces, then staff recommends that the additional space, in addition to the first space, the additional space be located generally in front of 411 Northwest 23rd Street, which is about 153 to 131 feet west of the west curb line of Hudson Avenue. The reason for the 1-hour time limitation on parking on 23rd Street is in our research and looking at the type of restrictions that are supposed to be posted on 23rd Street right now. It's all supposed to be posted with a 1-hour time limit to encourage turnover for businesses.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
a motion that we place a handicap parking spot on 415 Northwest 23rd, and the time designation, I'm going to leave open to staff review, but I would either put a 2-hour, at least 2-hour, if not unlimited. Because I don't think anyone's going to, well, I don't know.
I have a motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Sir, I'll second.
I have a motion for a 1 hour, for one parking space at 415 by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Kula. Further discussion? Questions of Ms. Hancock?
So the 411, that would be in front of the tattoo parlor?
No, I think that's in front of right by the alleyway.
Well, the 415, I mean, what do you know the businesses that, I thought 415 was right by the alleyway.
No, sir.
Just as a matter of clarification, those parking spaces are opposite each other on the alleyway.
Okay, so one's west, the 415 is to the west of the alley, 411 is to the east.
And that's the one that is closer to that business you were talking about.
Okay, well, that's fine. Well, the 415 would be in front of one of the...
He actually has the buildings at 411, 415, 417, and 421. He offices out of 411 or 413. I'm not quite sure on those addresses. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's two buildings with a smoky glass.
Right. Okay. So, but his buildings start to the west of the alley.
His buildings start at the alleyway.
Right, and go west.
And go all the way down.
To 421.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To the old C.R. Anthony store.
Okay, great. Okay, so now the time designation.
Commissioner Martin, did your motion include the time constraints?
Well, my motion was 2-hour minimum.
Okay.
And possibly longer.
I wanted to be sure that we had, in your motion, that you had clarified either 1 hour, 2 hour, or unlimited, or if that's open for discussion.
Well, it's kind of open, but I would 2-hour minimum. And
okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I mean, that was my question to you. I mean, we spoke briefly, but obviously 1 hour, you didn't feel 1 hour was enough. I didn't know if 2 hour was...
I don't feel like 2 hours is enough either.
Okay.
I mean, right now, it's unlimited to everyone.
There actually is a posted 1 hour parking sign down almost to Walker.
To Walker?
Yeah, right.
Well, that's at the very end of the walk, which
Right.
we would never, no one that was parking would ever see it unless they were right in front of the sign.
And that may be a separate issue in that we may need more parking time limit signs along there, which we can address that. So we need to reach a consensus.
I feel like I'm opening up a can of worms if there's a limit is put on the parking spaces.
Well, actually, staff had mentioned that there is a 1 hour limit to encourage turnover for the patrons along there. It's not designed or intended to be parking for the owners or employees.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to revise my motion. Okay. I want to make a... Okay.
Okay. Would you like to withdraw that motion and restate it?
Okay, so if it's okay, we'll just stay on this actual motion for right now so we can talk about it. So, Stuart, what you're saying is, right now, on the records, it is a 1 hour park-in on that street.
That's correct.
Okay, it just isn't marked all the way down the street.
And that's right. And it could be
So
that
therefore, any additional parking restrictions would fall under that 1 hour parking. Like if we put this handicap sign there, that would automatically fall under the 1 hour right now.
Right. If there were, say, there to be just a regular expansion of existing parallel parking spaces, they would also be subject to 1 hour restriction.
Okay, good. So then that second point back to you is by having that 1 hour restrictions, that was for actual business patrons to come in, use the business, and leave, not for the owners, because you're saying that there's parking around back in the alley?
No, there's no parking in the alley.
So where do employees,
They all park in the parallel parking. That's all there is.
so there's no business parking for employees
No.
in that area? Okay,
The only way there could be any kind of parking would be if a building burned down and they didn't build it back.
right. So right now, there is no parking right
No,
now for
sir.
employees? Okay.
And even if someone came in the evening, they're getting ready to open the Old Tower Theater, they wouldn't be able to see a movie in an hour. If they ate at Cheever's, which is around the corner, you can't get in and out of that restaurant in an hour. It'd place a hardship on anyone.
Okay. And then, so the reason for this request is for the owner of those buildings to be able to have a parking space close to where his office is? Is that what the
Well,
request
not
is for?
necessarily. There's not parking for a lot of people. There's a business on the other side of the alley. It's a tattoo parlor, and I've counted over 100 people going in and out of there on a Saturday. And they loiter around the streets, and there is nowhere else to park.
Right.
Is there any parking across 23rd Street?
There is a law office, but, it's their building with their little parking lot.
I understand that they've also put in a divider in the median now. So crossing would be limited to the corners or encouraged to be at the corners where,
Yes,
where it
sir.
should be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so
If we had handicap parking, it's first come, first served.
Exactly.
And so maybe we hadn't bettered ourselves as far as getting the owners of the business at all a parking spot, because there's many handicapped people out there, and so I'm having trouble to see what advantage it would really give us other than to create some handicap parking for whoever comes in and out.
The parking lot, the parking space would be available to anyone who's handicapped.
Yeah.
And I think the Americans with Disability Act
Right.
says you have to provide handicap parking spaces.
That's true.
Now, I don't have a copy of the ADA regulations before me, and they are rather extensive. But I don't think that there's a stipulation that that municipalities
Could I
have to
add
maintain.
something? I'm Amy Douglas with the City Attorney's Office. There are ADA regulations that I am aware of that apply to parking lots. I am not currently aware of any on-street handicap parking requirements. That does not mean that some don't exist. I am just not educated on it at the moment. We would be happy to research this if you'd like to defer it a month.
we approved some in front of the federal building. Within the last 6 months. I would like to say, this is what I'd like to see. One handicap parking place at 415 with unlimited hours. No restriction on time. That's what I'd like to modify my motion to.
Okay, modify your motion to,
Right.
I think the only part that changed, you had originally mentioned 415 as the address.
Right.
So unlimited time is the only
Right.
change to your
Exactly.
motion. And,
And I'll second that modification.
okay. Is there further discussion? Commissioner May?
The biggest concern I have on this is that we're establishing one spot unlimited and it's a commercial area. So does this become her father's parking spot from this point forward by establishing just one? And we're not helping the area by having one, and I'd like to see two of them established so that we're actually helping the area by having two rather than just one. And we all know what's going to happen. The gentleman is going to, as long as he lives, he's going to be going to that one, taking up the spot. I'd rather be looking at the public good overall versus just one person. And I think the one person is in need of some support, but I think you want to look at that whole area. Think about the narrowness of the road. I went down there twice today, and it is narrow. But you just got to pay attention to what you're doing and what others are doing in getting out of your vehicle and getting in your vehicle. That's part of wherever you park. And there is parking for the theater across the street for unlimited time. They've got a parking lot across the street. I know the area well because I used to live in the area. Now it's changed since I've lived there, but it's still, I go down there at least once or twice a week.
I would be willing to modify my motion to include 415 and 411
with
unlimited time frame.
Are there requirements for the size of the handicap parking space in a parallel condition, Stuart?
Yes, sir. Our typical space runs about 22 feet. The city is working to adopt new standards relative to the sizes of spaces for on-street handicap parking with parallel spaces, and typically they also involve like sidewalk modifications in addition to wheelchair ramp.
I guess the question I really need to get to is by adding especially 2 handicap parking spaces, are we reducing the overall number of spaces?
In this particular case, I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Then I'll second his modification to the 2 parking spaces.
Okay. I have a motion and a second for 4B to designate 2 parking places, one at 415, one at 411 Northwest 23rd Street, with unlimited time. Designate those as handicapped, restricted to handicap use only. Okay. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Thank you
very much.
Ms. Hancock, one of these pictures that you showed us, was that your father getting in and out of the car? Okay. Ask him to use extreme caution.
He usually has to wait till after 6 o'clock on the Capitol let out so he can go out.
So he is the driver of the vehicle as well. Okay. Thank you. Item 4C, the applicant is David A. Kellerman, American Legion of Oklahoma, 2311 North Central Avenue, Oklahoma City, 73152. The request is to consider the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of State Highway 152 and Southwest 59th Street. Is Mr. Kellerman present? Could I have staff summary, please?
Okay, you've got the staff comments and analysis of the intersection and the report before you. In the absence of any unusual physical features requiring safety remediation and in recognition of the low traffic volumes on Southwest 59th Street, staff does not have cause to recommend the installation of a traffic signal at this intersection at this time. The decision site distance available on all approaches exceeds the city's minimum requirements, and the intersection does not have a collision history indicative of a particular traffic safety hazard. A comparison of calculated average vehicle delays between the existing side street stop control on Southwest 59th Street and signalization found that there was no significant decrease in the overall vehicle delay that would be realized with the addition of a traffic signal. Installation of a signal would create gaps in the traffic stream on State Highway 152 and improve egress conditions for drivers on 59th Street. So action on this matter is at the discretion of the Commission.
This item is 5C, not 4C, as I stated a moment ago. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to not approve this request.
I have a motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Witcher, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to not approve item 5C. Is there further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously or disapproved unanimously? Yeah, the commotion is outside, exactly. Item 5D, Stuart Chai, P.E., City Traffic Engineer, Traffic Management Division, Municipal Codes 32-297 and 32-308. The request is to review a proposed ordinance amending Municipal Code Chapter 32, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, 32-297 and 32-308, in order to regulate on-street parking in conformance with functional classification plan for the Oklahoma City street system and forward a recommendation to the City Council for its adoption. Stuart?
Okay, thank you. I had passed out a slightly revised version of the draft ordinance that's in your packets. This was a version that should have been in there. I've also passed around copies of the functional classification plans for your reference. This particular ordinance is really a long overdue housekeeping matter. It enables staff to sign parking restrictions on major roadways within the city without having to prepare individual reports for the Commission's consideration. The ordinance already basically mirrors one that exists in state law as it is right now. As noted in the report, as a matter of policy, staff will not act on parking restriction requests on collector streets in residential areas without direct neighborhood involvement. In this regard, all parking restrictions within residential areas will continue to be subject to the existing public hearing process in order for residents and neighborhood associations to take the lead role in helping establish reasonable and appropriate parking restrictions for their areas. The review of parking restrictions on collector streets outside residentially zoned areas, such as in industrial and commercially zoned areas, will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis versus the use of a broad brush approach, as noted in Table 1 of the Functional Classification Plan. Staff is recommending that you approve the amended ordinance and forward a recommendation to the City Council for its adoption. And just for clarity, I go ahead and read the ordinance that was passed around 32-308. And it will read that the director is hereby authorized and may place signs prohibiting or restricting the stopping, standing, or parking of vehicles on any street under the city's jurisdiction. And here's where the change occurs, including but not limited to those streets bearing the functional classification of arterial, expressway, or highway as identified in the functional classification plan for the Oklahoma City street system, including appurtenant service roads and frontage roads, where such stopping, standing, or parking is dangerous to those using the street or would unduly interfere with the free movement of traffic thereon.
Do I have a motion on 5D?
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Kula.
Based on the amended version of the ordinance?
Based on the amended version of the ordinance. Yeah, it would forward a positive message to the City Council.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yes. I have a motion for 5D by Commissioner Martin and seconded by Commissioner Kula to approve the amended motion, or the amended ordinance, the amended ordinance, and forward a recommendation to the City Council. Positive recommendation to the City Council. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Item number 6, comments from citizens. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have an E. Yep. 5E, the applicant is Stuart Chai, P.E., City Traffic Engineer, Traffic Management Division, Municipal Code 50-34. Review a proposed ordinance amending Municipal Code Chapter 50, Streets and Sidewalks, 50-34, barriers and warning lights, etc., and forward a recommendation to the City Council for its adoption.
Okay. The purpose of the draft ordinance before you is to delete archaic references to flashing warning light requirements on work zone traffic control devices and to bring this code section into conformance with the requirements in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Staff is recommending that you approve the ordinance and forward a recommendation to the City Council for its adoption.
Do I have a motion?
All right. I make a motion to approve the modified ordinance with positive recommendation for the City Council.
And I'll second that, sir.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Kula for 5E. Is there further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. That takes us to item 6, comments from citizens. Is there anyone wishing to address the Traffic Commission in the audience? And that takes us to, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Khalid Rifaq. I go by the name K. As a profession, I work with A1 Taxi at the airport. I have a concern about the application for taxi cab business. From my information, I know that the council is amending laws about the taxi.
Yes, I'll interrupt you at this moment. Sure. If you would like to attend the subcommittee meeting that will take place right after this meeting, your concerns can be addressed there.
All right. Thank you very much.
That will take place in the basement of 420 West Main at approximately 2:20.
All right.
This
Thanks
afternoon.
a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That takes us to item 7, reports from commissioners. Commissioner Witcher.
I have nothing to report in particular.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin.
I would request some selective enforcement. The construction on Northwest 23rd between Villa and May has diverted a bunch of traffic through the neighborhood, and which tends to be traveling at a high rate of speed. So I'm talking between Northwest 25th and Northwest 26th, between the 2800 block and the 2600 block, which would put it between May and Lynn, where they can cut back over whichever direction they're wanting to go. And preferably, if possible, between like 4:30 and 5:30 during the week. That seems to be the worst of it. I would appreciate it, as resources are available.
Thank you. Commissioner Kula.
Yes, sir. My house was part of the housing area that got hit out at Deerfield Estates by the storm last Monday. And we're one of the lucky ones. We only have to repair about half the house. Probably 10 houses got totaled just in our housing area. And as you know, that storm went all the way from Moore through Oklahoma City up into Harrah. So I would just like to thank the workers of the city of Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma County, and Oklahoma State for all their hard work in that area, keeping it safe, being the first responders out there, making sure everybody is safe. Injuries, Loves got hit really hard there. Just a whole lot of work, and it was done very well. So I would like to thank all those people And then, of course, all the volunteer agencies, Red Cross, et cetera. The list is probably very long for everybody's support and all that. And, of course, I'm just in one little area. They were supporting that whole area. The next day, Governor Henry and Representative Fallon came by and drove through the area. So just like to thank this area for all their hard work and first responding, making sure everybody's safe. We still have a actual city cop at the entrance, guarding the entrance. Just that kind of effort to make sure that the citizens are really taken care of. Thank you.
Were you home at the time of the?
Yes, I was. But again, our house just had about a quarter of the house damage, pretty bad. So we're going to be out for about eight weeks. But like I said, 10 houses got totaled, 6 to 8 months to rebuild. So we were very lucky. So almost every house that got totally damaged had people in it, and the house just exploded. And those people were in a closet or somewhere, and they were all safe. So very lucky in that area for the whole storm.
I'm glad you're safe and sound. Commissioner Harris?
I just have one item, and the traffic light at 59th and South Blackwelder, coming from Blackwelder side, I've had some complaints about maybe staying on too long after there's no traffic there. And it may be one of the older ones that...
Okay, we'll have our traffic operations take a look at it and make sure that we don't have any equipment errors that we need to remedy.
Commissioner May?
I just want to mention that we, in our neighborhood and all, did not get affected by the storm coming through. So we're very lucky. But those that did get affected, and my heart goes out to you, Walt, because it's difficult for the family, 8 weeks, up to 8 months, you said, for some. But you know what it shows also? It shows the Oklahoma spirit of how people come together and help each other. And I'm just proud to be an Oklahoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain McCool, comments?
I don't have anything.
Ms. Jackson? Stewart?
The only thing I've got is I provided some information for you on recent action taken by the state legislature. This is in the matter of Senate Bill 1329, which would allow motorcyclists to enter intersections on red, making left turns if they believe that they've not been detected by the traffic signal detectors. So I'm just providing that information for you at this time.
Did you want to comment?
There is one other item on there. There's a report from staff on new yield installations. A while back, when the commission amended its policy in December of 2009, which allowed staff to administratively handle the installation of yield signs in residential areas where there were no existing traffic controls. This is just a summary report that you've seen several of already. It shows you where we had a request to install some east-west yield signs on Southeast 26th Street at Durland Avenue, and we've taken care of that for those residents.
Good. That seems to be working then.
It does seem to be working very well at this point.
Good. Thank you. Any further comments? The meeting across the street, the subcommittee meeting, will start at 2:30. It's in the basement of 420 West Main. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.